If you're using AI to help you pivot into project management, you might be slowly killing your positioning. Welcome back to the Own Your Career Path to Project Management podcast. My name is Kayla, and I help high-performing professionals pivot into six-figure project management roles without lying, inflating their experience, or starting over. And today we are talking about using AI in your project management job search. I see pivoters using ChatGPT or Claude all the time to redo their resumes, and it literally makes me cringe to witness because it is absolutely destroying their credibility. And the worst part is they don't even know it. And then they get confused when they don't get any traction with their applications. So they lean heavier into AI as their confidence takes a hit and they apply more. They hear back even less. They feel like they're screaming into a void, and it's just a vicious cycle. So, after today's episode, you're going to understand exactly how AI is hurting your positioning as a project manager and what to do instead so that you can get seen as a project manager, not as a career pivoter who does project management. So, if you're an experienced professional who has hit a career ceiling, whether that's salary, seniority, or satisfaction, and you are looking to pivot into project management, this episode is for you. And I would love to hear from you. If you are looking to pivot into project management, please comment below what is your current title and industry. I would love to hear from you. So I am seeing absolutely everywhere people using AI to align their experience with job descriptions. Now, that worked for about 2 minutes in 2024. Then recruiters and hiring managers got wise to what was happening. And if you want to hear more about this, then go listen to episode number 9, Why Highly Capable Project Managers Are Invisible in the 2026 Job Market. I unpack more of this in that episode. But let's get back to the problem at hand. AI is destroying your positioning. And here is why. AI lacks context. It does not understand your full story. Only you do. The only person in this world who understands your full story is you. And there is no way to download all of that onto AI. There's simply no way possible. The second thing that is going on here is that it is not trained to ask thoughtful follow-up questions. So if you do try to dump your experience, you try to dump your story, it just accepts it and doesn't necessarily ask questions about, do you have more project management experience? What else should we look at? Is there anything else you aren't considering here? Why are you considering that not as a project? Could we potentially take a look at this again and say, does this fit within the definition of project? How could we help you demonstrate value? Let's back into that. It cannot do this. It's not at this place. This is something that I do with my clients all the time to help them uncover their hidden project management experience. Now, the next reason that AI is destroying your credibility is because it does things like stacking project management jargon. It will throw in words like stakeholder, timeline, communication plan, my personal favorite, cross-functional collaboration, and you end up sounding incredibly generic. You sound just like every other project manager out there on the market. There's no differentiation. So, of course, you're not hearing anything back because it looks like you just ran your experience through AI, which you did. You're not gaining any trust. Trust is the new currency. Trust and time. These are the two new currencies in 2026. In the world of AI, where anyone can use AI to make their experience look perfect, to match perfectly with a job description, you have to create trust. And you have to do it fast because the market is flooded with resumes and they all look the same. So really, you want to be in your resume You want to be writing it yourself. And I know that this is a hot take, but you want to write it yourself and you want to be optimizing for ownership, decision making, weighing trade offs, managing complexity, and monitoring scope. Now, I hear you out there, but Kayla, I don't have time to rewrite my resume for every single position, nor should you. This is something that I help my clients with. They come to me, they're feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling burnt out because they are submitting 20 or more applications a week, and their life is just completely dominated by job searching. That is not what I teach my clients to do. I teach them to do this strategically so that they can get more time back on their calendar and have a higher ROI for the activities that they are doing. Here's another thing that is happening with AI, and you might not even recognize it. This is a silent killer, and that is that it is misusing project management jargon and project management words. AI is guilty of making up jargon or using project management language incorrectly. I have seen it spit out things like communication scope document. That is not a real thing, but you wouldn't know that if you're just relying on AI to keyword stuff your resume, particularly if you haven't studied project management before. That is where it becomes very, very important to have someone who is in the industry, who studies project management, who knows exactly what it is to be able to look at your experience, help you pull out experience, and make sure you articulate it correctly without accidentally killing your credibility by describing things with words that aren't even real. The next problem that I'm seeing here with AI killing your credibility is in interviewing. So you keyword stuff your resume and you manage to get past the gatekeeper just barely by the hair of your chinny chin chin. Now you are in the interview. And first of all, you have to remember, which personality am I putting on today? Which version of my resume did I use? What did I say about myself? What are they experiencing? Hold on, let me pause and look through the 200 applications that I have submitted to fish this one out. And when you are doing this over and over and over again in interviews, it is exhausting and you're not coming across as authentic in the interview. So you're doing all of this work and still not getting an offer. And in the end, when you're sitting in that interview, you feel exposed. You feel like an imposter. You stumble over your words. Here's the real thing. And you ultimately how are you supposed to back up your experience and convince anyone that you were a good fit for the job if you couldn't even articulate it on paper on your own? If you had to rely on AI to do it for you, there is no way you're going to be able to articulate your experience confidently and in a way that lands with hiring managers in the interview. And this is happening for a very specific reason. It's not because you're lazy. It is because everyone out there is telling you that the only way to solve this right now is to keyword stuff your resume. Just use AI and stuff all those words in there. Use it to optimize because hiring managers are using AI, recruiters are using AI. So let's fight AI with AI. But that is not helping anybody. AI is making you lazy. And not in that you are afraid of hard work. You are not afraid of hard work. If you are listening to this podcast, I know you're not. It is making you lazy in that it is not challenging your critical thinking abilities. And as a project manager, thinking critically is a skill that you have to use every single day. So it pulls you into this trap of feeling like you're behind because your resume isn't getting any traction. So then you try to solve that problem with volume. So that's where it becomes this snowball of quote unquote laziness. And it's not even laziness, it's just not stepping back enough to think critically about what is happening. You're so exhausted, you're so overwhelmed, you are probably incredibly stressed. And because of that, your cortisol is spiked. And when your cortisol is spiked, you don't necessarily make the best decisions. So you reach for the easiest decision, which is volume. Just increase the volume. All right, I applied to 20 last week. That didn't work. How about I apply to 30 this week? And it just gets worse and worse and worse. You end up like a zombie, just forcing your resume through AI without thinking critically about your experience and exactly what types of problems you solve and why you are a perfect candidate to solve those problems at the organization that you are targeting. And as a result, you blend into the background and become absolutely invisible. So here's what I recommend you do. I recommend you get crystal clear on three things. What type of project management role do you want? What is the niche? Is it IT? Is it healthcare? Is it creative? What type of project management do you do? What is your bread and butter? Is it process improvement? Is it implementation? Is it operations? And when I recommend that people get very crystal clear on the type of project management that they do, it feels counterintuitive and scary to them because it feels like I'm telling them to limit their choices. And effectively, I am. But what I use here to demonstrate the point is I use myself. You are sitting here listening to this podcast for a very specific reason because I help mid-career professionals pivot into project management. That is very specific. I'm not just a generic career coach. I'm not even a career transition coach, which is a little bit more specific. I am specifically for mid-career professionals who want to pivot into project management. I am crystal clear on my niche and what I do. And for that reason, you are sitting here listening to this podcast because I sound like the solution to your problem. And you want to do the same thing when it comes to positioning yourself as a project manager. Now, the second part of this is to identify the common problems that you solve within that specific scope. And I can't tell you what that is unless we work together. And it's very difficult to figure out for yourself. But I can tell you that the problems that I solve are telling stories with data. I'm also very good at strategic thinking and strategic engagement. And I'm incredibly good at process improvement. Those are the things that I do, and I do them within the legal industry. So I am crystal clear. Now, I will tell you, there aren't a ton of legal project management jobs out there, but that is okay because I am very clear and very specific about what I do and what industry that I do it in. So I appear as an ideal candidate if I were to apply for these jobs. Now, the third thing that you want to do is to translate your experience in a way that shows exactly how you do those things, how you solve those problems. So for me, to show how I use strategic thinking to create revenue for my firm, or how I use data analytics to tell a story and help the lawyers be successful in running their work. This is storytelling. This is how do you use your experience to solve those types of problems? And it's very, very difficult to do on your own because it's hard to read the label of what you're good at and how you solve these problems when you are inside the jar of your experience. And I see people slip back into old habits that paint them into a corner very, very quickly. Things like using language that frame them as a doer or someone clearly pivoting from another industry and looking like a pivoter. So, this was a bit of a shorter episode today. If you are ready to stop letting AI dilute your story and actually own your positioning as a project manager and learn how to speak about it with confidence, that is what my PM Path diagnostic is for. This is a 15-minute call during which time we will take a closer look at your PM readiness iron triangle to identify which arm is limiting your traction. Then we will figure out how the current imbalance is affecting your results And finally, we will map a clear strategic path to strengthening the right areas and move you forward toward your goal. You can book yours today at kaylaqcareercoaching.com/diagnose. That is Kayla, Kayla, the letter Q, careercoaching.com/diagnose. The link is in the show notes, and I will see you next time.